fascist. Doo-doo-doo. Remember that TV show called That's Incredible? Remember that? They need to have a show now called That's Fascist. They do. Remember that? They used to have it was That's Incredible. It was hosted by John Davidson and Kathy Lee Crosby and Fran Tarkenton. Remember that? You remember that show? They need to have a show now called That's Fascist. And the audience would sit there. They would come on and say, and now for another exciting installment of That's Fascist. And the audience sits there and says that. Remember how they would start out That's Incredible with that? That's what they need to have a show like that now. And it would get pretty good ratings. And it's not like there's a shortage of material for it. They need to say, tonight on That's Fascist, the Citizens United ruling, pseudo-ephedrine laws, and the Welfare Reform Act of 1996. And they need to have a retro That's Fascist too, where they do all that stuff from back then, like the Telecommunications Act of 1996, all the stuff from back then. They need to have a retro That's Fascist. Or the time that Dan Lundgren tried to have somebody thrown in prison for selling an anti-Dare t-shirt. Remember that? They need to have a whole retro episode of That's Fascist. And who would host it? You know, I mean, all the hosts of That's Incredible are still alive, so maybe they should hire them. They should go and get John Davidson and Fran Tarkenton and Kathy Lee Crosby to host it, and even use the same studio with the same audience, like not the same people in the audience, but the same seating. You know, remember that they used to have that same that studio. But this was like 30 years ago when they had that show, so I don't know if the studio is even still there. But remember That's Incredible, how some of the stuff they used to have on that show. I remember the episode they had. They had one segment on there. It was about a dog who could sing soap opera themes. Remember that? I think it was That's Incredible. I don't think it was real people that had that. Another one, I'm pretty sure it was That's Incredible that had this too. It was the guy. It might have been real people, but I think it was That's Incredible. And some old man who drove non-stop from the Canadian border to the Mexican border on Interstate 5. And the thing I remember about it is he had a toilet in his car. Because when you gotta go, you gotta go. And he was showing his toilet. He says, here's the toilet, because when you gotta go, you gotta go. Because he had to drive non-stop. That was like the big accomplishment of his in life was that. And so that's how. See, that's just how incredible all the stuff on That's Incredible was. Once they had a Rubik's Cube contest. Another episode they had a video game playing contest, and that was and people on the internet for years. Somebody on the internet, a bunch of people on the internet have said this. They've insisted for years that there's been an episode about bubble gum. But I think they're confusing that with real people. Because I'm pretty sure real people had one. But anyway, that's but that's how That's Incredible was. And that was one of my favorite shows when I was growing up. That's Incredible. It was right around the same time as the Dukes of Hazzard. Right around that same era. But that was I mean, I remember I didn't want to miss an episode of it. But yeah, they used to have a video game competition. And what sort of stuff would be on That's Fascist? If they had a show now called That's Fascist, what things would be on it? They could say, meet the man who called himself. They could say, meet George W. Bush, the man who thought himself to be president for 8 years, even though he stole 2 elections. Tonight on That's Fascist! And you get the audience there cheering. And then you come out on stage and go, yay, yay! And they have Bush right there on the stage. And John Davidson would say, so Mr. Bush, how is it that you managed to tell people that you were president all those years? And Bush would say, well, it helps when you've got a friendly media. And people would go, yeah, yeah. And then people would start pelting him with tomatoes and stuff from the audience. Or they'd throw their shoes up on the stage like that one guy did. Right now I got some email. Oh well, it's nothing important. Now that's there's not really a whole lot of news here either. Maybe if I go to the local news sites, there might be more interesting stuff. Because I need to check the latest news. Alright. I'm even going to check Channel 9. Advice: how to remember someone's name. It must be a really slow news day. Oh well. Nothing major going on today. But that's the latest news. There's really nothing going on today. But yeah, and what other and another network. I mean, ABC could have That's Fascist, but NBC, they could put on a show called Real Fascists instead of Real People. Remember that? And Fox could have Guinness Book of Fascist Records. Like, they could have a record like what congressperson is the most fascist, and they could have they could have that, and then they could say, please don't ever try anything like this at home because people might think that you're a fascist. But it would be neat to have shows like that. Of course, it's appropriate that they put it on all the major networks because the major networks are pretty much fascist. I mean, especially Fox News at least. But yeah, that would be a neat idea for a TV show. That's Fascist! Doo-doo-doo.